When you ask the internet who caused the most injuries in the history of the NBA, you will often get just one answer: Bruce Bowen. He refused to give shooters space, slid his feet under their landings, and even kicked opponents midair, all while being accused of injuring some of the biggest stars. From Kobe Bryant, to Vince Carter, to Ray Allen, Bowen's reputation followed him everywhere. Yet, despite being hated by almost every opponent, he went from an undrafted journeyman to the defensive anchor of a dynasty, winning 3 NBA championships with the San Antonio Spurs. This is the story of Bruce Bowen. Bruce Bowen Jr. was born on the 14th of June, 1971, in Merced, California. Raised in Fresno, he grew up in a working-class family with few opportunities. Basketball became his escape. At Edison High School, Bowen was relentless on defense, but he was not a scorer. He did not win awards, and he did not have dozens of recruiters at his games. But he had a toughness that would define his entire career. After graduating in 1989, Bowen committed to Cal State Fullerton. Over 4 years with the Titans, he averaged 11 points, 5 rebounds, and nearly 2 assists per game. He was not flashy, he was not the type scouts drooled over, but he was dependable. He never missed a single game. Still, when the 1993 NBA draft arrived, Bowen's name was never called, not in the first round, not in the second. He was undrafted, and for most players, that would have been the end. But Bruce Bowen was different. With no NBA team willing, Bowen had to chase his dream elsewhere. He bounced around the Continental Basketball Association, suiting up for the Fort Wayne Fury and Rockford Lightning. Then, he packed his bags for Europe, spending years in France with Le Havre, Évreux, and Besançon. For most of the 1990s, Bowen was a basketball nomad. He was already 26 years old by the time his NBA chance finally came. In March 1997, the Miami Heat signed him to a 10-day contract. He made his debut on March 13 against the Indiana Pacers. Bowen played 17 minutes, scored 2 points, and grabbed 2 rebounds. It was not glamorous, but it was the start of something. The following seasons were a test of patience. He had short stints with Miami and Boston, trying to prove there was a place for a defensive specialist who did not score much. In 1997-98 with the Celtics, he appeared in more than 60 games and started 9, but the scoring never clicked. The defense, though, kept him on rosters. In 2001, he had a brief run with the Philadelphia 76ers, who made the NBA Finals behind Allen Iverson. Bowen started several games that season and got a taste of the biggest stage. But he was still a role player. At 30 years old, nothing was guaranteed. Then, Greg Popovich called. In the summer of 2001, San Antonio signed Bruce Bowen. The Spurs did not need another scorer. They needed a stopper on the perimeter. Popovich gave Bowen a mission: guard the other team's best wing, pick them up early, make every catch hard, contest every shot without fouling. That year, Bowen averaged about 7 points per game, but more importantly, he was named to the NBA All-Defensive Second Team. By the next season, he was a starter, and his identity was set. He would take the toughest assignment every night. This was the birth of the league's biggest villain. The Spurs taught disciplined team defense. Tim Duncan guarded the paint. Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker handled the offense. Bruce Bowen lived on an island. He studied footwork and timing. He shaded ball handlers to help. He crowded shooters on the catch, and he stepped into landing areas so often that superstars around the league accused him of trying to injure them. The timing mattered. In the early 2000s, the league had not yet made strict landing space enforcement the way it would years later. Closeouts were wilder. Contact was common. Bowen pushed that line right to the edge, and sometimes over it. It did not take long for the rest of the league to notice Bowen's tactics. Vince Carter was one of the first. Bowen repeatedly slid under Carter's jump shots, causing rolled ankles in multiple matchups in the early 2000s. Carter told reporters, "Bowen played dirty." Kobe Bryant echoed those complaints. After games where he landed awkwardly on Bowen's foot, Kobe called him dangerous. Phil Jackson, Kobe's coach, publicly accused Bowen of dirty tactics, saying defenders must respect the shooter's landing space. Ray Allen had one of the most infamous run-ins. During the mid-2000s, Allen said Bowen kneed him in the groin and called him flat-out dirty.
It was an accident, or it wasn't on purpose, because not very often you see somebody putting their foot right up on you like that.
The anger lingered for years, including during the 2005 playoffs when the Spurs faced the Seattle Supersonics. Steve Francis nearly left a game concussed in 2004 when Bowen slid his foot under him on a jump shot while contesting the play. And in March 2008, the league suspended Bowen one game after a play against Chris Paul that officials ruled unnecessary and excessive, adding fuel to the idea that his tactics crossed the line. These were not random role players. They were all-stars, and every single one accused Bruce Bowen of being dirty. Yet inside San Antonio's locker room, the picture looked different. Tim Duncan called him essential. Popovich defended him after every incident. Robert Horry and Michael Finley praised how Bowen memorized actions, from floppy sets to pin downs to zipper cuts, so he could get a body on shooters before they even caught the ball. The Spurs saw a teammate who did the work. He chased in circles through screens. He absorbed contact. He accepted guarding Kobe Bryant one night, and then Ray Allen the next, and then LeBron James days later, never asking for touches on offense. Bowen also added just enough shooting to punish teams that ignored him. From 2002 through 2006, he hit over 40% of his three-point attempts, including a season at 44% in 2003. Most of those makes came from the corners, where Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili created drive and kick looks. He became the prototype for the modern 3-and-D role player. In the 2003 finals against the New Jersey Nets, Bowen guarded Jason Kidd relentlessly, holding him to roughly 38% shooting. The Spurs won in 4 games, and Bowen walked away with his first ring. In 2005, San Antonio went 7 games with the Detroit Pistons. Bowen chased Richard Hamilton through a maze of screens, bumping him off routes, contesting from behind, and holding him near 37% for the series. The Spurs survived and claimed another title. In 2007, Bowen drew the task of checking LeBron James. In Game 1 of the Finals, LeBron shot 4 for 16, which is 25%, and San Antonio set the tone for a 4-game sweep of Cleveland. Bowen did not stop LeBron. No one ever truly did, but he disrupted rhythm, forced the ball out of his hands, and turned every catch into a wrestling match. By now, Bowen's reputation was set in stone. Fans outside of San Antonio hated him. Highlight reels of his so-called dirty plays circulated online. Analysts debated nightly whether his defense was brilliant strategy or intentional harm. The league eventually emphasized landing space protection many years later, a change that arrived well after Bowen's prime but addressed the very type of closeout that made him infamous. It was a recognition that the shooter's safety on landing must be protected. Inside the Spurs locker room, the verdict was different. Popovich called him irreplaceable. Duncan said the team could not have won without him. Teammates credited Bowen for taking the emotional brunt of series, absorbing boos and elbows, so stars could focus on closing. By 2009, at 38 years old, Bowen's body began to slow down. He was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks but never played a game. Instead, he chose to retire. Over 873 career games, he averaged just over 6 points, 3 rebounds, and about 1 assist. But numbers never told his story. He was never about the box score. He was about winning possessions, about frustrating stars, and about doing the dirty work nobody else wanted. In March 2012, the Spurs retired his number 12 jersey, an honor almost never given to a role player.
To Mr. Holt and Mrs. Holt, I thank you for the wonderful opportunity to be able to be here today. And to the great man here, Greg Popovich, who taught me, to take the high road even when I didn't want to.
It was a statement about impact, about winning, and about doing the job that does not show up in a box score. After basketball, Bowen worked in television and youth coaching. He often said he was proudest of being reliable, night after night, even when he was booed in every visiting arena, because to him, that was proof he had done his job.
All that has been added. I think there's ching-ching, 4 championships here.
So how do you judge Bruce Bowen? To Spurs fans, he was a defensive mastermind, the guy who did the dirty work that allowed Duncan, Parker, and Ginobili to shine. To his opponents, he was a dirty player who slid under jump shooters, kneed, or kicked players in midair, and risked careers for the sake of defense. But one thing is certain. He left a mark on the NBA, and on more than a few ankles. What do you think? Was Bruce Bowen unfairly labeled as dirty, or did he really injure everyone he played against? Let me know in the comments.